So this practical demonstration area, we're going to cover bunkers, we'll cover the putting green, and then at the end we'll touch on caddy alignment. So when it comes to the bunker rules, first of all, it's important to know when your ball is in the bunker and therefore when the bunker rules will apply. So your ball is in the bunker when any part of the ball touches sand that is inside the edge of the prepared area. Your ball is also in a bunker when it lies on the likes of a loose impediment or a movable obstruction that lies again within the edge of the prepared area. Your ball would also be considered to be inside a bunker if it lies within the edge of the prepared area on ground where sand would normally be, perhaps where it's been blown away by the wind or it's washed away with the rain. Fortunately, we don't have any of that here. So now we know when your ball is in a bunker, let's look at some of the rules that will apply. I've been pretty unlucky with where my balls come to rest in here, but the good news is that all these things around this ball are loose impediments and I can move those out of a bunker without any penalty. But the key with that is you must be careful not to cause the ball to move in removing loose impediments. So I can move leaves, any loose grass, this old divot. I can even move this stone here right behind my ball. There's no penalty in any of that. If I did cause my ball to move in removing any of these loose impediments, there'd be a one-stroke penalty and I would have to replace the ball. Now, these are all movable obstructions, man-made objects, and these aren't part of the challenge of the golf course. So again, the good news is that I can move all of these without penalty. But this time, there's not going to be any penalty if I do happen to cause my ball to move in removing these movable obstructions. So I can move the bottle, the towel, and the rake. Now that ball's moved, and as I said, there's no penalty for doing that because this is a movable obstruction and I just have to replace the ball. Now if it doesn't come to rest when I try to replace it, must do that again. Hasn't come to rest again the second time, so now I have to find the nearest point, no closer to the hole where that ball will come to rest. And that ball's back in play. So now I'm going to talk a bit about when you can and cannot touch the sand within a bunker. In general, you have to be pretty careful when it comes to touching the sand because there's quite a few times when you will still get a penalty for doing that. So when can you not touch the sand in a bunker? Well, you can't touch the sand with your hand, with a club, with a rake or any other object if it's for the purpose of testing the sand to find out information for your next stroke. Also, you cannot ground the club immediately in front of or immediately behind the ball. You can't touch the sand in taking a practice swing. And you cannot touch the sand in the backswing for the stroke. So in any of these situations, if you touch the sand in the bunker, you're going to find yourself with a general penalty. But there are many situations where there's no penalty for touching the sand in the bunker. But in all these cases, you have to be careful not to improve the conditions affecting the stroke, because in those cases, you would still find yourself with a 2-stroke penalty under Rule 8.1. So when can you touch the sand in the bunker? Well, there's no problem with placing your clubs into the bunker, either by placing or throwing them down there. No problem with that. If I'm waiting to play and I want to just have a bit of a rest, I'm not testing in this situation, so again, there's no problem with touching the sand here. There's not going to be any penalty if I rake the bunker for care of the course. So no problem over here. That's not going to be in improving any of the conditions affecting the stroke. But if I started to rake around the area where I was going to stand, or in the line of play, or close to the ball where it might interfere with the area of intended swing, that's going to be a problem. So you can rake for care, but only if it's not improving the conditions affecting the stroke. No problem with digging in with your feet to play the stroke, but actually in this situation I've got another ball next to mine here, so I want to move this out the way. Normally I'd get the other player to do that, but I'm going to just show you that for the time being, for the purposes of this demonstration. So if I wanted to move this out the way, then again there's not going to be a penalty if I touch the sand in proceeding under a rule. So if I happen to touch the sand a little bit in putting my mark into the ground, there's no penalty. Mustn't clean the ball when I lift it. And then if I needed to move this a club head to the side, there's no penalty for touching the sand and measuring in any situation either. Again, in all of these situations you must ensure that you're not improving the conditions affecting the stroke. As I said, I can dig down for the shot. Oh! But there's not going to be any penalty for me hitting the sand in anger like that. So if you decide to take unplayable relief from a bunker, you now have 4 options. The first 3 options are all available under one penalty stroke, and these are the normal unplayable options. So you can go back and play again from where you last played, but that was 200 yards that way, so I'm not going to use that option. I can take back on the line, keeping the point where the ball lies between me and the hole, and drop within 1 club length of a reference point back on that line. Third option is to drop within 2 club lengths of where the ball lies, no nearer the hole. And again, that would be inside the bunker. But I now have a 4th option, and that would allow me to take the ball outside the bunker, and that would be for 2 penalty strokes. So that option, again, is a back on the line option, keeping the point where the ball lies between me and the hole. I can choose a reference point on that line, and I can drop within 1 club length of that reference point, no nearer the hole. I can substitute a ball, as I always can when taking relief, drop from knee height, and that ball's in play for 2 penalty strokes.